Hello again, Virtue here. Um, Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Viaduct Tavern. The Viaduct Tavern is a lovely pub. It's near the Old Bailey in Holborn. It's called the Viaduct Tavern because it's right near the Holborn Viaduct, which was a big thing, I think about the 1800s. This pub's got quite a reputation. It is both, number one, a fantastic gin palace. If you really want to experience London and their famous gin and tonics, go to the Viaduct Tavern. It's just the most amazing menu of these bespoke and incredible, gin and tonics that you can have. It's well worth it. The other thing that it's connected to, in the cellar, it was apparently supposed to have some sort of jail, and there was some sort of tunnel that went across to the Old Bailey, and I don't know why it was in a pub, I have no idea. But the prisoners were led from this jail into the courtroom and, sentenced, and then when they were sentenced they got led back, and I don't think they got any gin though. But it's been a gin palace for years. Anyway, there is an entity. There are quite a few entities. Well, there is only one. I shouldn't say this, the management might chase me down the street for getting rid of some of their ghosts. But anyway, this all started with me, and I got interested in this pub and the entities in it because I signed up for a paranormal investigation. Now, I have never been on a paranormal investigation before. Wasn't really sure about people waving around tape recorders and heat sensors and things like that, but I thought, well, I've never really been on one, so I'll go. I signed up for it, and I live a fair way away from Holborn, and I sort of had a bit of trouble with, because we were supposed to finish at 3 a.m, and I didn't really know how I was going to get home, so I had to cancel because it would have been hideously expensive to have to even get an Uber. So I cancelled it at the last minute, but I felt a little bit guilty. So what I did after was I went in by myself to the Viaduct Tavern, and I went in the afternoon where it was quite peaceful. It is lovely in the afternoon. There's not a lot of people in there. It gets absolutely packed after about 5, 6 o'clock. You can't move in there. But I went in there and I got a quiet table sort of up near the door of the cellar, and I just sat there. I just sort of opened myself up to it, and I thought, I just want to know what's here. Because what my idea was, because I cancelled, I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll go in and just do a bit of a reading myself, and then send them sort of, what I picked up, maybe helpful, who knows. So that's what I attempted to do, and it was almost instant that I got this really strong male energy. And the first thing I felt, now I'm not 100% sure if this was him, I think it was him, is I was leaning on the table, and I could feel the table start to vibrate. Now, it could have been because, the big red London buses are going by right outside. It could have been that. It could have also been a fridge turning on because it was that kind of vibration, so I'm not 100% sure. Instinct says that it was probably him. But he never said a word to me. There was no communication. It was just a presence. And I think that's probably the way he deals with people. I have heard since that he'll do things like block people getting downstairs. He'll just, he's almost like a force. And I would kind of describe him a bit like that. What he did to me is I started to feel him pushing me on my left shoulder. Like I could feel a pressure. I wasn't moving, but I felt like I could. Like I felt like he was trying to almost push me off the chair. I mean, he wasn't going to get there because I'm not that easy to push off anything. So I just sort of didn't do much about it. I just sort of let him go. But I was trying to sort of say to him, what's your name? What's this about? Can't you tell me something? I was trying to communicate because I was interested in what and who and why he was there. But he never said a word. Then he just disappeared, and I thought, he's probably just, not interested in talking. Well, some of them aren't. Some of them are just, you basically get the F off, will you? Stop annoying me or I'll frighten you. But I think that's what he was attempting to do by pushing me. And sort of, I could feel the pressure of him leaning almost against me. I think he was trying to scare me. And I think that's why he came back, because I actually think I confused him a bit because I wasn't scared. Because I'm not scared. I get pushed all the time. I just think, yeah, whatever. He started pushing me the other way. So he was from my right side and he's trying to push me the other way. And he was getting quite strong. He really is quite forceful. He's got a real power, this entity. He doesn't mess around. Because I could feel myself slightly moving from it. It was getting that strong. Then he disappeared again. And of course, I was still saying to him, who are you? And, why are you here? Were you in the jail? I'm 20 questions at these things trying to find out more about him. And nothing. No communication. It was like there was just nothing. All it was this force. So, okay. So I had this lovely, lovely gin in front of me. And I took a mouthful, and as I put it down on the table, I felt him, and he pushed the back of my head. And I actually found it really amusing because I just instantly thought, oh, you little bugger, you're trying to make me spill my drink. Because that's what it felt like. It felt like he was trying to push me down so the drink would spill. And I didn't laugh at him. I laughed because I thought, oh, you little shit, you smart little bastard. And then he just disappeared. And I thought, what the hell? So I sort of, in my mind, I wasn't saying it aloud, I was doing it in my mind. I kept saying, come on, smart ass, come on. Tell me what this is about. Why won't you talk to me? And I started to challenge him. Anyway, I won't say who he actually threatened because it was sort of someone I knew. But next thing I know, the only thing I got was this sentence out of him. And he said, I can't give you the words because I want to keep it private who he actually threatened. But he made this veiled threat that specifically was a reference to someone that I knew well. And I just thought, oh, you little ass. And I thought, and at that moment, I realised that he was really quite clever. I mean, you do get varying levels when you're dealing with the dead. Some of them are a bit, thick. And others are quite intelligent. They still do have personality, particularly when they're coming close to the living. It's almost like their personality, intelligence, and the things they were are still sort of fairly relevant to them. I think as they back off into the dead world, they probably lose all of that again. I don't know. That's just my theory. Anyway, that's what we got up to. So I went home, I wrote a bit of a thing, I sent it in to the paranormal people and said, look, I went and did this in case, and all I got back was, you have a very unusual way of dealing with the dead. And I think you tell me about it, everyone says that. Anyway, let me move on to the next image. So I let things go for a while about the Viaduct Tavern, and I call him Mr. Viaduct because I don't know what else to call him. Maybe pushy, but I call him Mr. Viaduct. So I went in another time because I'd sort of been thinking about it again, and I thought, look, I'm going to go and see if I can sort this one out. Now, I took my dead book. Those of you that don't know what that is, I have a book. And so I don't have to sit in a pub by myself if I'm sort of talking to the dead that are in pubs. I write it down because I'm pretty good at automatic writing. I'm very comfortable with it. So I write a question and then I let them automatically write an answer. So I went in and I tried to get him to talk. Now, by this stage, I'd started to paint the dead. And I got a whole different attitude because as soon as I came in and sat down and started asking, I sort of said, are you there? I virtually got, I want you to paint me. And I thought, it always works. I've always got the trump card, haven't I? So I said, yeah, well, there's certain conditions. Because I also knew by this stage, because sometimes when I walk in, I can feel how many energies are in there. There were other energies there, and I actually had communications with some of them. One of them used to be an ex. I don't know if it was an ex-girlfriend or a wife, but she introduced herself by saying that she loved him. She loved him once, But she wanted out, she wanted to pass on, and he wouldn't let her. And this is typical in London, and really other haunted places as well, where you'll get this hierarchy. You'll get a dominant dead person in an actual area, and sometimes they will be really controlling and really nasty, and they won't let things out. You can also get demonic stuff doing it as well. You can get all sorts of crap doing it to people. And there were, I think it's probably in the next image coming up, I think there were 6 of them. And he just messed with me, he really did. He was, I don't want them to go. And I said, well, you're not getting a painting unless you can let me pass them on, because they want to go. All of them wanted to go. They just didn't want to be there. They were unhappy. They were trapped. This force field that he is, Mr. Viaduct, would not let any of them out. And I don't like that. I get a bit pissy, because I think, look, if these souls are stuck and they're trapped and they want out, just let them go. So I had to basically blackmail him. I said, you don't get a painting until you let me cross them over. And there was toing and froing, because he was communicating this time, and when he communicates, he doesn't mess around. The only thing I can pick up about Mr. Viaduct, he had something to do with the military. He had something to do with something official, and it was also fairly high up in the military. He wasn't a lowly sort of, I don't know much about military, so I'm going to be dumb here, like a normal sort of foot soldier or something like that. He was actually quite, I would say he was in like management sort of area. Very, very clever. The more I communicated with him, the more I realised how clever he actually is. But so in the end we came to an agreement, which is I get to pass them on and he gets a painting done. But as I said to him, if you go back on your word, even if I've painted that painting, I'll rip it up. So I said, you have to behave yourself and we have to do a deal. And that's virtually what I had to do. It was like, the one thing I remember about Mr. Viaduct is it was like hostage negotiation. And in the end, he gave in. So this is the painting of Mr. Viaduct. He's still in the pub. He hasn't left. I don't think he'll ever leave. But, you know, some of the words that are on this, he said this to me. One of the last things he said before he agreed to let me cross these other trapped spirits on was, my death was spectacular and I revel in it. These are the lost souls that I actually crossed over. The binding that they're in is something I use. I use it a lot whether I'm working, like hauntings like this that are a bit lively. Didn't bind Mr. Viaduct because that was part of the deal, is I'll let you do whatever you want, you don't annoy me, and you let me cross those souls over. I do use a lot of bindings when I do the more lively hauntings. A binding is something that just stops them. It doesn't really harm them or do anything. I use 2 different types of binding. I can do them as a ritual, or I can do them in the painting. They're exactly the same. It's just, you know, it's the same result. It comes from it. The binding I've got these souls in, I actually have help from I guess some people would call an archangel. He's not. Michael, which is one of the angelic deities, but believe me, angels are not what people think they are. He can be quite mean, but he does help. He's said to me whenever I need, you know, some sort of healing done on any of the dead that I'm working with, that he helps. So if you see a binding in any of my paintings that has white in it, it means that I've asked him to sort of oversee it, because I haven't got time to be crossing them over. I assume he's done the job for me. Thanks if you have. But as far as I know, I haven't been back. I should go back and see if it's cleared. It probably has. But it was a very interesting position with Mr. Viaduct, and I really would suggest if you go in there is see if you can pick him up. I don't think he's that harmful. I mean, I'd certainly be careful about going up and down the cellar stairs, because if he gives you a shove there, you may get into trouble. But he certainly was very, very smart. Very smart. So anyway, that's Mr. Viaduct. I'll put the website on for the pub on there. Again, highly recommend if you're visiting London, go and have one of their fabulous, fabulous gin and tonics. And the area is really nice to wander around too. There's plenty to see. And I hope, again, you enjoyed that clip. I'm still in blitzing mode and getting a lot of these hauntings up on YouTube. And so I hope you're going to listen to another clip. So, bye for now.